Charlotte from Lavender Healthcare. Today we're going to be doing a core beginner workout. So we're going to go through how to activate your core, what is the core, and some exercises to get you going. So first of all, what is the core? You probably hear it a lot, it's a term that's bandied around a lot. The core refers to a group of muscles. It includes the diaphragm, the transversus abdominis, which are these deep muscles here, your multifidus, which is a deep spinal muscle, and your pelvic floor muscles. So it creates a cylinder that helps to support the spine. So the stronger the core is, the more supported your spine is going to be and the less likely you are to have back pain. So it's really important that we understand how to activate the core muscles and how to strengthen them up. Before you start this video, make sure you've done a proper warm-up. You can find my 15-minute stretch and mobilise videos if you go back onto the channel. So do that first so you're nice and ready to go, and let's begin with the core. So to start off, we're going to come and lie onto our backs and we're going to come into our rest position. So our rest position means feet and knees are going to be hip width apart, upper back is nice and relaxed, neck and head is long. We're going to start by coming into some pelvic tuck and tilts. So we're going to tuck the pelvis under, flattening the spine to the floor, and then we're going to untuck. Now we're going to use a diamond technique, so place your thumbs together and your fingertips together to create a diamond. Placing the thumb onto the belly button and the fingers will touch the pubic bone, you're then going to continue to do your tuck and tilts and find halfway between those points so that the diamond lays flat. This is your neutral pelvis or your neutral spine position. This position is really important because it allows our spine to stay safe in the exercises we're doing, but particularly with the core exercises. So this is a really important position to get right. We're then going to start by contracting our core muscles. So when we say this, we're going to visualise our transversus abdominis, those deep muscles that are coming next to the front of the hip bones that you can feel. Now imagine that you're putting on a pair of jeans that's slightly too tight and you've just got to squeeze those muscles slightly to get that top button of the jeans done up. You could also imagine that you have a low slung belt that's going across the hip bones and you want to tighten it by a couple of notches. And you can feel a slight contraction underneath your fingertips when you contract the transversus abdominis muscle. Now we want this to be a gentle, controlled contraction, a nice slow contraction rather than a big forceful one. And the reason for this is that in everyday life, we can't sustain a big, strong contraction. So we need that slow, sustained contraction that will help us support our backs all day, every day, rather than those big contractions. We're now going to come into our exercise of hundreds. Hundreds is a classic Pilates exercise that helps to strengthen the abdominal muscles. We're going to start in our rest position. The arms are going to float up a couple of inches off of the floor and we're going to create pulse movements with our arms. The whole way through this, our core stays engaged. We pulse 5 times for an in-breath and 5 times for an out-breath, and we're going to repeat this for 100 pulses. This is our level 100s move because our feet are placed on the floor. We're still contracting our core the whole time. We are now coming into our overhead reach. Now this exercise, we still want our core contraction, so keep that going or reconnect if you'd lost it. We're going to float our arms up towards the ceiling and take them above the head as if going towards the floor, but they're not going to touch the floor. What we're focusing on here is keeping that core contraction and keeping our rib cage down. What we don't want to see is a big flare of the ribs and no control of the shoulders. We want to imagine almost that we've got a spring that's connecting between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the hips, and that spring shouldn't change distance, it shouldn't change length. We're now going to come into our one leg stretch. So the same principles as with the arms. We're keeping our pelvis really nice and steady, our core's engaged, and we're just sliding one leg out and sliding it back to centre, alternating between the legs. We exhale as the leg goes away from us, and we inhale to bring the leg back to us. You really want to focus here that the pelvis isn't tipping as the leg goes away from you, and that core muscle stay engaged the whole time. We're now coming into our double leg stretch, level 1. So we're using the same arm and leg movements we've just done, but combining the two. So we're going to do one leg with both arms going away from us and alternating between legs. So you breathe out as the limbs go away from you, and we're going to breathe in as they come back together. We're now coming into our Abdo Preps, so we can interlace the fingers and place them behind the head and the neck. The elbows should be framing the face and they should just be in your peripheral vision, and they're not going to change their position at all throughout this whole exercise. It's really important at this stage that you're definitely in your neutral pelvis and your neutral spine, so if you need to redo your diamond technique, that's absolutely fine. We're going to take a nice breath in, and as we breathe out, we're just going to slide the rib cage down towards the hips, bring ourselves into an almost a crunch position. The important thing here is that this is an abdominal exercise and not a neck exercise. The neck should stay nice and relaxed into the hammock of your hands. And almost imagine you've got a peach underneath your chin and you don't want to squash it, so that neck position doesn't change the whole time. It's the abdominals that are bringing you up. We are now bringing ourselves into our oblique prep, so we start with the same setup. As we breathe out, we slide the rib cage down towards the hips, and then we slightly rotate ourselves opposite arm to opposite knee. So we're going to take that left elbow towards the right knee, and you should start to feel it down the side of the stomach muscles. The same breathing pattern applies. We exhale as we come up and inhale as we come back down. We're now coming into our scissors level 1. So we're just going to start by floating one leg up into a 90-90 position. So our hips at 90 degrees and so is our knee, and we're going to bring it back down. So we're alternating between the legs. We're then going to bring this into our double tabletop prep. So we're going to bring one leg up into that tabletop position, brace down those stomach muscles and bring the second leg up. You can check that you're in the right position by placing your arms out straight and placing your hands so they just curl over the knee. We're going to alternate which leg leads because we want them to be just as strong as each other. So we're going to take one leg up, brace down those stomach muscles and take the second leg up. We bring one leg down and we bring the second leg down. When you're in tabletop position, we always bring one leg down at a time to protect the back. We're now coming into our one leg stretch level 2s. So we bring the leg into a tabletop position and then we stretch it out to 45-degree angles, imagining that you're pressing a button that's halfway up at the wall. We then place the leg back down. This exercise is further strengthening the abdominal muscles. The further that your limbs go away from you, the more the core has to work to support you. We're just going to come into some knee hugs to rest off the hips and the lower back. So just hug the knees in towards the chest and just relax. We're now going to come into our one leg stretch level 3. So it's the same technique that we was just using, but we're going to start in double tabletop. So we're going to take one leg into tabletop, brace down the stomach muscles and bring the second leg up into tabletop. From here we extend one leg out to 45-degree angle as if we was pressing the button that's halfway up the wall. We then bring it back into tabletop and take the other leg out. When you're finished, we're going to bring one leg down and then bring the other leg down. We're just going to relax the stomach muscles for a moment and come into our shoulder bridges, which is all about spinal mobility and strengthening the gluteal muscles in the buttocks. So we're going to start by tucking the pelvis under and peeling off the spine, lifting the hips towards the ceiling, squeezing the buttocks the whole time, and then you peel your way back down. So it's a nice slow controlled movement. We're now coming into our roll-ups. So we're starting in a seated position with our feet out in front of us. We then float the arms so they're just out in front of us. Then we're going to create a C curve with the spine. So just dropping the lower back backwards, creating that nice C curve. You're then going to lean yourself backwards and bring yourself back to position. When you're doing this, you should automatically feel those deep tummy muscles next to the hip bones working. Those transversus abdominis will fire very quickly with this exercise. So you're only going to lean yourself back as far as you can control it and bring yourself back up to centre with.